Just snap your fingers and create women's studies. The English department had taken a century to develop, okay? It was a huge argument, okay, within it, right? And all of a sudden to create, okay, a department with a politicized agenda from the start, okay, by people without any training, whatever, in that field. Well, Foucault's admirers actually think that he began, the entire turn toward a sociological, grounding of modern psychology. The social psychology was well launched in the 1920s, for example. Right. The levels of ignorance that these people who think Foucault is so original have not read Durkheim, they've not read Max Weber, they've not read Irving Goffman. Okay, so in other words, to me, everything in Foucault seemed obvious, okay, because I had read the sources from which he was borrowing without attribution. Mm-hmm. So I mean, again, I know these people. I mean, I've met. In some cases, knew them in graduate school. People who went on to become these admirers of Foucault, Lacan, Derrida, and I know what their training was. Their training was purely within the English department. That's all they ever knew. They never made any research outside of that, right? And so the idea, Foucault is simply this a mechanism. It's like a little tiny kit by which they can approach everything in culture, but the contortions of language, the deliberate labyrinthine elitist language, at the same time as pretending to be a leftist. Okay, this is one of the biggest frauds ever practiced.
So I got a story to tell you that you might like, because I've thought a lot about that use of language, because language can be used as camouflage. And so here's the story. I think I got this from Robert Sapolsky. So he was talking about zebras, and zebras, of course, have stripes, and hypothetically that's associated with camouflage, but it's not a straightforward association, because zebras are black and white and they're on the veldt along with the lions. The lions are camouflaged because they're grass colored, but the bloody zebras are black and white. You can see them like 15 miles away. So biologists go out to study zebras, and they're like making notes on a zebra, and they watch it, and then they look down at their notes, and then they look up and they think, I don't know which zebra I was looking at. So the camouflage is actually against the herd, because a zebra is a herd animal, not an individual. And so the black and white stripes break up the animal against the herd, so you can't identify it. So this was a quandary for the biologists, so they did one of two things. One was drive a jeep up to the zebra herd and use a dab of red paint and dab the haunch of the zebra, or tag it with an ear tag like you use for cattle. The lions would kill it. So as soon as it became identifiable, the predators could organize their hunt around that identifiable animal. That's why, there's the old idea that lions and predators take down the weak animals, but they don't. They take down the identifiable animals. So that's the thing, is if you stick your damn head up, you get picked off by the predators. And so one of the things that academics seem to do is congregate together in herd-like entities, and then they share a language, right? Yes. And the language unites them, and also keeps them, as long as they share the same set of linguistic tools among themselves, they know that there isn't anybody in the coterie that's going to attack them or destabilize the entire herd. And that seems to me to account for that impenetrable use of language. It's group protection strategy, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the search for security within a system, and not the desire to expand the system.
So true. But to me, it's blatantly careerist, because it was about advancement, and it was also about the claim that somehow they have like special expertise. This is a special technical language. No one else can understand it. Only we can. But what's absurd about it, absolutely ludicrous, right, is that these people, these American academics, are imitating the contorted language of French translations from the French. Okay, when Lacan is translated into English, right? There's a contortion there. Okay, what he was trying to do in French was to break up, okay, the neoclassical formulations that descended from Racine. There was something that was going on. There was a sabotage of the French language going on that was necessary in France, not necessary in English. We have this long tradition of poetry going back to Shakespeare and Chaucer. We have our own language, far more vital than the French.
Oh yeah, the French constrain their language all the time.
Yes, sir.
By by bureaucracy.
The absurdity in the amateurism, okay, of American academics, okay, trying to imitate, okay, a translation of Lacan, okay, when Lacan's doing something in France that is absolutely not necessary and indeed wrong to be doing in English, all right? So the utter cynical abandonment, okay, of the great tradition of the English departments, right? And I felt that the true radicalism was not about adding on other departments, okay, so we have African American studies and women's studies and so on. The true radicalism would have been to shatter the departmental structure. That's what I wanted. I feel that was the authentic revolutionary 1960s thing to do, right? To blend all the literature studies together, okay, to make easier, to make an interdisciplinary kind of organization, closer to the British model, where a person can pursue related subjects, overlapping subjects. These departmental models, okay, were to me totalitarian to begin with, okay, separating language into fiefdoms, okay? And what this did to create English women's studies department, absolutely out of the air, just snap your fingers and create women's studies. The English department had taken a century to develop, okay, it was a huge argument, okay, within it, right? And all of a sudden to create, okay, a department with a politicized agenda from the start, okay, by people without any training whatever in that field, okay, what should be the parameters of the field? What should be the requirements of that field? How about biology, okay, if you're going to be discussing gender, that should have been a #1 requirement, okay, as part of any women's studies department or program. Yes. But no, okay, it was all hands off. It was just the administrators wanted to solve a public relations problem, okay? They had a situation with very few women faculty nationwide at a time when the women's movement had just started up. The spotlight of attention was on them. They needed women faculty fast. They needed the women's subject on the agenda fast, right? So they just like, poof, let there be women's studies, okay? And now we'll just hire some women, usually from English departments, here and there, and we'll just throw them together. You invent it. You say what it is. So that's why women's studies got frozen at a certain point of ideology, okay, of the early 1970s. I was already in revolt from it, okay? I was a precursor in terms of my endorsement of feminism before even now was created, right? But I couldn't even have a conversation with any of these women. They were hysterical about the subject of biology. They knew nothing about hormones, okay? I mean, I probably got in fistfights over this. People were so convinced that biology had nothing whatever to do with gender differences.
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a comment and hit that like button. If you didn't like it, please explain why. Open discussion is the only way to have a better understanding of differing views. Sharing this video on social media can help keep conversations alive. Now, here are a few other videos that you may be interested in.